So the thing that we all thought was going to happen has happened. The Labour government are now in power. And what that means is there's quite a lot of interesting employment law changes that are coming our way. Now, in my view, they're all pretty positive, but some of them are quite different to the way that we currently work. So I've tried to wrap this all up in a nice little bow for you, but here are my top 5 things that you need to look out for in terms of employment law changes now we have a Labour government. So the first one is the things that they're planning to do around day one rights. So at the moment, there are only certain things that as an employee you're entitled to from day one of employment. The Labour government are planning on changing that. So unfair dismissal is a big one that they're planning on changing and making it available from day one. Parental leave and sick pay. So all of those things, once the Labour government get that all sorted, will become rights from day one. Now, what does that mean for kind of employees and employers? Unfair dismissal is a big one. So at the moment, employees aren't able to claim unfair dismissal unless they have 2 years worth of service. So that means in your first couple of years, your employer can let you go and you won't be able to claim unfair dismissal. There are various other things that you'll be able to claim, but at the moment, unfair dismissal isn't one of those things. Under the Labour government, though, that will change, and they're planning to make that a day one right. Now, I have it on good authority that the CIPD, so the body that looks after HR professionals, is trying to lobby the government to make sure that there's a process and real thought that goes into making that change. But going forward, that's going to be quite a big thing that we need to look out for. Number 2 is the right to switch off. Now, the UK are actually a little bit behind with this right. So countries like France, Italy, Spain already have the right to switch off. Australia as well, I believe. But we don't currently have that in the UK. The Labour government are planning to change that. So I'm quite interested to see how that works, because it will mean employees have the right to stop working when their hours are done. And with the way that the world is right now, we all work from home, we all probably do a little bit extra here and there. That right to switch off piece is going to be quite interesting. And I'm quite interested to see how that works in terms of like employment tribunals and how people will bring claims in relation to that, because that's something that is very, very new to us here in the UK. They're also planning on making adjustments to the national minimum wage and looking to move the age bands that we have. So at the moment, if you're fall within certain age bands, you're entitled to certain levels of pay. They're planning on removing those age bands and adjusting the national minimum wage. So quite interested again to see what that looks like. May well be very positive for employees, might be quite difficult for employers, particularly small employers. We've already seen quite a big change in the national minimum wage. If they're planning on moving that quite a lot, that's definitely something that employers need to keep an eye on. They're also looking to ban what they're calling exploitative 0 hours contracts. And that's quite controversial, right? Because quite a lot of people do like 0 hours contracts, but obviously no one wants to be exploited. And, that's not a good thing. We should not be exploiting people. Now, they haven't given us a definition of what their view of exploitative means. So hopefully there'll be some more detail that comes with that. But if you're on a 0 hours contract, or if you're an employer that uses them, keep an eye on that, because that might be something that impacts the way that you work. And number 5 is the fire and rehire laws. So at the moment, there has been some practices in the past where people have made individuals redundant and then said that they'll rehire them, but only on kind of different employment terms, which most of the time have not been kind of positive or great or conducive for them. So the Labour government are planning to get rid of the fire and rehire laws. That's kind of been on the cards for a little while, to be honest. Nobody's really supportive of fire and rehire, but they've made it quite clear in their manifesto that that is something that they're looking to get rid of. So those are my top 5 things: your day one rights, the right to switch off, adjusting the national minimum wage, changing the 0 hours contracts rules or the way that those work, and looking at the fire and rehire rules. The other things that they've said they're planning on doing, they've not provided a lot of guidance or kind of substance yet, but these are things they're looking at. They're looking to strengthen the laws in relation to redundancy, looking to, again, change the rules around TUPE. They're looking at whistleblowing, maternity. They also want to review carers leave. Now, we've only very recently had carers leave put in, so not sure what review means, might not mean any change, but that's something that they're looking to look at. So I hope that's really helpful. If you've got any questions, comments or thoughts, do let me know. Quite a raft of changes, and I suppose the key thing to say is we don't know when these things are going to happen. So it's not necessarily something that's going to, all these things anyway, are not necessarily things that are going to happen tomorrow, but quite interesting that these things are all in their manifesto, and I'd be interested to see how much of it all pans out, when it pans out, and how employers react to these new changes. Tell me what you think. pop your comments down in the box below. Don't forget to like, share, tell a friend, and I'll do some more videos on the other things that I think they're planning to change, and just like employment law in general. You know that's my jam. Anyway, have fabulous weekends, days, and I'll see you soon.